Somebody killed my baby. Somebody that never even had a fight before in her life. I'm so broken. I'm so torn. I did the best with my children as a single mom. And I did a wonderful job. Please, y'all say something.
The man you see here is a hired killer, and just minutes earlier, he had shot a 24-year-old mother and her 3-year-old daughter dead just after clocking out of her job. In the late hours of May 3rd, 2021, LaShante Jones, a dedicated TSA agent, had just clocked out of her job and returned home to her apartment in the Coral Bay Cove area of southwest Miami-Dade, expecting a quiet evening with her little one, but instead, her world would be violently shattered. As they approached their door, a masked man ambushed them, shooting them down in cold blood. But the horror didn't stop there. Just hours after the attack, a video surfaced online. In it, the killer, proudly displaying the cash he was paid, grinned into the camera, bragging about the job he had just completed. What initially seemed like a random act of violence quickly unraveled into a far more sinister plot. Investigators discovered that this was no spur-of-the-moment act, but a carefully orchestrated hit, a murder-for-hire plot tied to betrayal and a web of secrets. This is the chilling story of a woman whose life was violently taken, leaving behind not only the devastation of a family, but the chilling revelation of a killer who wasn't afraid to flaunt his payment, even as he destroyed lives. This is the life and death of LaShante Jones.
What man in his right mind would chase a woman with a baby to murder her?
24-year-old LaShante Jones from Miami was known for her infectious spirit. Described as sociable, free-spirited, and full of love, LaShante had a deep sense of loyalty and kindness that made her beloved by all who knew her. She shared an especially unique bond with her mother and siblings, a connection that was central to her life. Known for her warm heart and contagious smile, LaShante made everyone around her happy and cherished the relationship she had with her loved ones. LaShante was a young woman with a promising future. She valued hard work and perseverance, which led her to a career path that reflected her dedication. After starting out at Walmart, she transitioned into a position with the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, working at Miami International Airport. She took pride in her work, knowing that her role helped keep the community safe. But her story was only just beginning. In July 2017, LaShante's life took a beautiful turn as she welcomed her daughter, Elijah, into the world. Elijah quickly became the center of LaShante's universe, and her love for her daughter knew no bounds. She poured all her energy into raising her, ensuring Elijah felt the utmost care and affection. Motherhood was LaShante's greatest joy, and she cherished every moment with her little girl, always putting her needs first. Sadly, Elijah would witness how her mother was tragically taken away from her. On May 3rd, 2021, LaShante was returning home after a long day of work at Miami International Airport. Her day had been like many others, picking up her young daughter from her sister's house, heading back to her apartment to enjoy some quiet family time. But that evening would be anything but normal. As she pulled into the parking lot at her apartment complex in the Coral Bay Cove area of southwest Miami-Dade, looking forward to a quiet evening with her child, she was captured on surveillance footage heading towards her apartment. Little did she know, that was the last time she would ever leave for work again. Just as she pulled into the parking lot, a dark gray Nissan Sentra appeared beside her. Moments later, gunshots rang out. LaShante was shot multiple times, her 3-year-old daughter, Elijah, by her side. LaShante was left lying lifeless on the pavement. Elijah was grazed by a bullet but survived the attack. The brutal shooting took place in broad daylight, sending a shocking aftermath through the local community. Surveillance footage from the area later revealed the chilling reality. The gunman, dressed in dark clothing, approached LaShante's car and opened fire, killing her instantly. What followed was a tragic scene, as LaShante's lifeless body was found near the foot of a staircase, with the bloodstains still visible on the ground hours later. The moment LaShante's mother received the devastating news, the community was already beginning to question who would want LaShante dead and why. LaShante, a young mother, had no known enemies. She was well liked in her community, hardworking, and dedicated to providing a better life for her daughter. Why would someone want to murder her in such a violent way, especially in front of her child? But little did investigators know, this was part of a much larger, more sinister plot.
New at noon, a family asking for your help after the murder of a young mother.
She was shot and killed in southwest Miami-Dade last month. Her 3-year-old daughter also grazed by a bullet. Local 10 News reporter Annalise Garcia live with this public plea. Annalise?
Janice, Gio, this family stood right outside this building, desperate for answers. This woman was shot and killed literally while carrying her 3-year-old daughter. Now, a homicide lieutenant told us today that the reward for information has been increased to $10,000.
My baby had a future. Somebody took from her. I did the best with my children as a single mom. And I did a wonderful job. Please, y'all, say something.
The family of 24-year-old LaShante Jones stood in front of Miami-Dade Police Headquarters Friday morning, begging for help to catch who's responsible for their loved ones.
What man in his right mind would chase a woman with a baby to murder her?
It was May 3rd. Jones was getting home from her TSA job at Miami International Airport. She had her 3-year-old daughter in her arms. That's when she was gunned down just steps away from her front door. Jones died on the scene. Her daughter also grazed by a bullet.
Her daughter witnessed this heinous crime.
Fortunately, the child is now okay. Jones, a mother, a sister, a daughter, the life of the party.
She's the hype man. That's why they call the DJ A1.
Miami-Dade police releasing this picture of the suspect, of a man pointing a gun in the moment of this tragedy. This family now missing a crucial piece of their lives, asking you to put yourself in their shoes.
You have a clue. If you think that's him, please do the right thing.
Now, this suspect is still out there. Police do say that the suspect took off in a gray Nissan sedan. Now, the detectives do have information. They are receiving tips, but they need your help to narrow down their scope. Now, overall, this family just wants justice for that 3-year-old girl who watched her mother. For more on this, you can go to all of my social media accounts. Just search at Annalise WPLG. And if you know anything, you're urged to call Crime Stoppers. That number is 305-471-TIPS. I'm in Doral. Annalise Garcia, Local 10 News.
As investigation continued, detectives began to uncover a deeper story. A name, Jasmine Martinez, would pop up. The police soon discovered that Jasmine had a long history with LaShante. In 2018, Jasmine had been arrested for assaulting LaShante, and despite the past tension, they had crossed paths again under even darker circumstances. According to investigators, Jasmine was the mastermind behind LaShante's murder. Her motives appeared to be rooted in a deep-seated vendetta stemming from past conflicts. What investigators discovered next would change everything. It wasn't just a personal vendetta. She had allegedly orchestrated a murder-for-hire plot, using the proceeds from a Paycheck Protection Program loan to fund the killing. Jasmine had withdrawn over $10,000 in cash from the loan shortly before the shooting. The arrest warrant read that she used that money to pay for the hit on LaShante. But the story doesn't end there. Not only had Jasmine previously been arrested in 2018 for assaulting LaShante, after a court hearing in early 2020, LaShante became even bigger a target after she had testified against Kelly Nelson, Jasmine's ex-boyfriend. LaShante was harassed and offered money not to testify against Nelson, but LaShante stood firm. She continued to fight for justice, unaware of how close she was to the danger surrounding her. According to the investigation, Nelson had been involved in a robbery that led to LaShante's testimony, and after her courageous act in court, Jasmine allegedly swore to have her killed. Jasmine was ready to take extreme measures to silence her. However, the story took an even darker turn. In a series of phone calls and messages, Jasmine and her boyfriend, Romeo Robinson, began planning the murder. Romeo, acting as the middleman, reached out to Javon Carter, a man with a history of violent crime. Together, they devised a plan to murder LaShante in cold blood. But first, they reached out to LaShante. On March 25, 2021, just days before the murder, LaShante was approached by the same group who offered her money to retract her testimony. They even threatened her with more violence if she refused to comply. But despite the threats, LaShante remained steadfast and resolute, refusing to back down and standing firm in her decision. But the most chilling discovery was still to come. On February 11, 2021, investigators discovered a chilling phone conversation between Jasmine and her ex-boyfriend Kelly Nelson. Jasmine's anger toward LaShante festered over the years, but it wasn't until February 2020, after LaShante had given her deposition against Nelson for witness tampering, that the situation became critical. Jasmine, desperate, made a chilling phone call to Nelson from jail, saying she was ready to go kill LaShante. Just days before the murder, Romeo made arrangements for Javon to carry out the hit. They went to great lengths to coordinate the hit, using coded language to discuss their plan. On April 20, 2021, Robinson reached out to Javon to arrange a price for the job, with phone records showing the discussion of numbers and the value of the hit. The final plan was set in motion. Javon Carter, with his violent history and willingness to do whatever it took to carry out the murder, was now the key player in a plot that would change everything. Jasmine's part was withdrawing the substantial sum of money from the same federal relief loan given to her. Jasmine, who owns a beauty parlor, reportedly obtained the $15,000 loan provided to company owners suffering during the pandemic. But investigators weren't done yet. The case took another twist when Javon was found to have recorded a video on his phone just after the shooting, where he is seen counting a large sum of money. Evidence from the scene, including Javon's phone records and surveillance footage, placed him at the apartment complex at the exact time of the shooting. The shocking discovery of the video and the evidence surrounding the plot exposed the true depth of the conspiracy. With the evidence stacking up, including Javon's incriminating video and a network of communications between the conspirators, investigators knew they were on the verge of bringing LaShante's killers to justice. But the wheels of justice would grind slowly. As the investigation progressed, all eyes were on Jasmine, the woman at the center of the deadly plot. Initially, she denied any involvement in LaShante's murder, but it became increasingly clear that her role was not just a passive one. Jasmine had been plotting LaShante's death for months, driven by anger and a personal vendetta. Evidence from both phone records and surveillance footage revealed that Jasmine had been in contact with Romeo and Javon, plotting the murder from the shadows. But something else struck investigators: the PPP loan Jasmine had taken out. Using money that was meant to help businesses survive the pandemic, she instead used the $10,000 withdrawal to pay for LaShante's life. But that wasn't all. The most shocking discovery came when investigators learned that Romeo Robinson had served 11 years in prison for armed robbery and aggravated assault before being released in 2020. He was back in trouble with the law just months before the murder, arrested on suspicion of drug trafficking. Despite his criminal past, he was now in the midst of a deadly conspiracy. In June 2021, Jasmine, Romeo, and Javon were arrested and charged with first-degree murder for LaShanta's death. In addition, Romeo and Jasmine face charges related to witness tampering and conspiracy to commit murder. Jasmine, once the alleged mastermind, denied any involvement in the murder, but was nonetheless held accountable for orchestrating the plan. The evidence against them was overwhelming. Phone records, bank withdrawals, and video footage tie all three suspects to the crime. Investigators also found an anonymous tip that identified Javon as the gunman, further confirming the timeline of the murder. Each defendant faces multiple charges, including first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. They are currently being held awaiting trial. Additionally, Jasmine's involvement in witness tampering will be a key focus of the trial, as the motive for LaShanta's death was rooted in a personal vendetta and the desire for retribution. The Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office is determined to prosecute the case to the fullest extent of the law, but many also wonder about the psychological toll the trial will take on LaShanta's loved ones. LaShanta's death has left a permanent scar on her family, especially her young daughter, who will grow up without the loving presence of her mother. LaShanta's mother, Darlene Dukes, spoke out in a heart-wrenching interview.
My mommy at the hospital.
Oh, mommy in the hospital?
I'm so broken. I'm so torn.
This grieving mother, Darlene Dukes,
My life has changed forever.
is pleading for someone, anyone, to come forward with information about her daughter's.
They took away a wonderful person, beautiful person, in and out.
Police say 24-year-old LaShante Jones, a TSA worker, had just got home from work when she was gunned down right by her 3-year-old daughter.
As a 3-year-old, she clearly remembers literally everything.
Jones was pronounced on scene, her 3-year-old daughter, grazed by.
She was grazed by, and she also still had fragments in her leg and in the lower part of her back.
It all happened at this apartment complex off of US 1 and Southwest 258th Street. Police say a dark gray 4-door Nissan drove up and someone inside opened fire. Sky 10 from above, capturing the body of Jones laying for hours at the foot of a staircase. Several evidence markers could also be seen on the steps.
And when we get the bag out, mommy gonna be happy, right? Right? Awesome.
Now I need y'all more than ever to help me find this person that my baby.
The public is still grappling with the fact that LaShanta's life was taken because of a payback scheme gone horribly wrong. The tragedy of her murder reflects the darker side of human nature, how revenge, jealousy, and betrayal can lead to irreversible consequences. As the legal process presses on, the profound impact of LaShanta Jones' murder is still deeply felt in the Miami community and across the nation. Her family, especially her mother Darlene Dukes, has made it clear that the fight for justice will not end with the courtroom verdict. For them, this is not just about holding those responsible accountable, it's about ensuring LaShanta's legacy lives on. In the aftermath of the tragic shooting, community leaders have rallied around the grieving Jones family, and calls for justice reform have grown louder. People are increasingly looking at the deeper issue of how pandemic relief programs like the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, can be exploited for criminal gain. The fact that Jasmine Martinez used funds intended to help struggling businesses during the pandemic to pay for LaShanta's murder has sparked outrage. The case also highlights the dangerous consequences of witness tampering and the cycle of violence in which revenge takes center stage. LaShanta had been a brave woman, standing up against Jasmine Martinez's abusive behavior, and as a result, she became a target. Despite her own past suffering, she found the courage to testify in court against Jasmine's ex-boyfriend, Kelly Nelson, and ultimately, that decision led to her tragic death. In the wake of LaShanta's tragic death, there has been an outpouring of support from people who have found inspiration in her story. Social media campaigns have spread far and wide, calling for justice for LaShanta and raising awareness about the dangers of retaliation and violence in communities. LaShanta's family has also used the spotlight to advocate for changes in how law enforcement handles witness tampering cases and violence against women. They've partnered with local organizations to ensure that their voices are heard and that the law is not just reactive, but also preventive. As more and more people hear LaShanta's story, her legacy is becoming a symbol of resilience. The grief of losing her will never go away for her family, but they are determined to turn their pain into purpose, using it to make meaningful change in the world. The PPP loan fraud and witness tampering that led to LaShanta's murder also underscore the failures in our system that allow people to exploit public resources for malicious purposes. It begs the question, how many more innocent lives will be lost to senseless violence before we demand real reform? A funeral was held for LaShanta Johns following her tragic death in May 2021. While specific details about the service itself haven't been widely publicized, her family, loved ones, colleagues from the TSA, and members of the Miami-Dade community were in attendance. A vigil was also held 1 year later at Demps Park in Goulds, Florida, where family and friends gathered to remember her life and demand justice. In the days and weeks ahead, LaShanta's case will likely continue to evolve. As more details surface, we'll keep you updated on the latest developments in this heartbreaking tragedy. For now, the fight for justice continues. A fight for LaShanta, a fight for her daughter, and a fight for a community desperate for change. LaShanta's murder was a senseless tragedy that has rocked the Miami community, but through the heartbreak, the family has found strength. They continued to seek justice for their loved one while working to ensure that such violence is not allowed to take root in the next generation. Their commitment is unshaken, their resolve as strong as ever. And with the upcoming trial, there is hope that LaShanta's story will serve as a powerful reminder that no one deserves to die because of hate, jealousy, or greed. The battle may not be over, but the truth is out, and LaShanta's fight for justice will not be in vain. What do you think about it? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.